Hi, everyone. Today we're going to be speaking with Kurt Galley, who is the Adult Services Supervisor for the Monrovia Public Library. Kurt has held many roles in different libraries, and today he's going to give you a brief overview of what he's done there, and then we're going to answer a few of the questions that you guys submitted. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Kurt.
Hello, everyone. My name's Kurt. I've been working in public libraries since 2007. I started as a library aide while I was working on my undergrad degree during college. I worked there for about 5 or 6 years, and once I graduated college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I tried many other career paths, and during that time, I realized I really enjoyed library work. So I decided to come back to the public library world, and I got a position as a circulation assistant, where I drove a bookmobile. I helped with outreach in that sense. Moved on to a couple other part-time library jobs with driving the bookmobile or working circulation, info desk duties. Got my first full-time position as a library technician for the city of Glendora in 2016. I don't anyways, so did a lot of different tasks there, helped with facilities, rentals, circulation, in the background work as well, processing, cataloging, a little bit of that. Eventually, after about 5 or 6 years there, I moved on to Riverside County Library System as a branch manager for a year there. Definitely a change in roles and duties for that job as well. And then now I'm here at the Monrovia Library as an adult services supervisor. So I feel like I have a pretty well-rounded experience in the public library world on both circulation and public services side as well.
So would you say, because Reed, when he spoke earlier, he talked about being a branch manager being the hardest job he's ever had. Do you agree with that?
I would agree. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. It was the branch manager role is very difficult, but I was also at a library in a difficult situation where the area was, the people and community that you serve there. Yeah, it was very, very challenging, but it was also it was a good experience and very eye-opening, and it gave me a lot of skills that I definitely carry with me to the job I'm currently at.
Okay. So when pursuing your education for your librarian position, what was something that you learned that you now feel is very useful and helps you be a better librarian?
I think the biggest thing I learned is that the library world isn't just so black and white. There's just a lot of gray area, and you can become an expert at your branch, but I've learned that every library operates in its own way differently. And I think that's the biggest thing that stood out to me is every library is dealing with a different budget, a different amount of staff. They're serving a different community. They have different community expectations. So whenever you get a library job, I think that's the biggest thing in the beginning, is to understand your role and the library's role, because like I said, you could have all the information from a current position at a current library, and you go to somewhere else and you're going to be starting from the beginning again. And I think it's just a good idea to be humble and realize that when you're starting again, you're going to be building from the ground up every single time.
Okay, great. As an adult services supervisor, what type of assistance do you provide to the adult patrons of the library?
So at this branch in Monrovia, we definitely one of the biggest services we offer is for our veterans. So we do have a Veterans Resource Center here, where we have a Veterans Service Officer who's certified to help veterans connect with their local benefits, but also state and federal benefits as well. So the library doesn't have to act as an expert or in any sort of way. We connect people to the expert, and that's how they get their help. We also have another form of assisting veterans. We have a representative from VPAN, which is the Veterans Peer Access Network, and they're a more local and peer-oriented veteran service. So it's a veteran helping other veterans, because veterans like to speak with other veterans. They feel they're understood more by them. They're not as open with, just civilians or non-veterans. So that's been a big help as well. So that's one of the ways we offer services to adults. We also have our literacy department. So we offer the opportunity to be an adult learner or a tutor, if you want to help assist other adults with whatever it is, whatever their learning needs are. So that's definitely another way we provide services to the adult community. And then also just our general library programming. We just offer a lot of fun. I think that's what I would call it. Our programming, all our programs are well attended. So I won't bore everyone and list everything we do, but if you're interested, definitely check out the website. We offer a lot of adult services. And in my experience, adult programming can be very difficult, but I feel like we're very effective here in terms of connecting adults with things they need, but also things that they may not know about and want to try. So we have a lot of interesting programs, musical instruments, educational programming, or just relaxation programming, stuff like that. So,
what are some ways that you see libraries moving into the digital age, both in terms of the products and services they provide people, as well as in terms of how to reach their broader and arguably increasingly isolated public?
long one. Okay.
That is a very long one. So how do you
Into
see
the
libraries
digital
moving into the
age.
digital age?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think if you look at circulation rates, they tend to be going lower each year slightly. So I think less checking out of physical items, and I think more use of things like, the Wi-Fi, study space, our study rooms, people to use for if they have like small businesses. I think that's definitely a way that public libraries are going to move into the future. It's kind of like I don't want to say like Starbucks or like university-esque atmosphere where people can come, like a community hub. They can use space. I think what a lot of public libraries are going to start to invest in is, rather than calling them study rooms, office space for people to use, maybe like social media stuff like recording, podcasting, things like that. That's what I foresee happening. It seems like there's a very high demand for that, and I think a lot of public libraries haven't quite like gone the route yet, but that's what I see going in terms of when you're asking about the digital age. So, and then what was the second part of that question?
Um, as well, how to reach the people who are more isolated. I'm assuming like older people. How do you get
Yeah.
a hold of older people?
Um, well, I think especially with like, when you're dealing with senior populations, you're not necessarily going to be bringing them into the library. The library is going to be going out to reach them. So for example, with our staff, we do outreach at our local community center where seniors meet. Like for instance, when they have bingo, we'll go over there, talk about library services, and give them our flyers, and ask them what they need help with, stuff like that. So I guess, yeah, that's definitely the way the libraries are going to reach those populations, is outreach. Or like, for example, for the youth services at the library, we have the mobile van. That's a great example. For our veterans, we go to a Starbucks once a month for a meetup there to meet people outside of the library. So those are a few examples.
I'm getting to them. And what do you do, the homebound delivery?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. We do the homebound delivery for patrons who can't physically make it. So they'll just send us an email or give us a phone call. We'll have staff check out their books, drop them off, and then pick up their returns. Thanks, Ginger, for reminding me.
And the book locker, I guess, also is
Oh,
kind of a way for
see,
people.
There's so many ways to do
to
it. I can't
access
think of
it.
them all. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a book locker here in Monrovia that patrons who live on the other side of town can ask us to take books and we drop them off in the locker there and they pick them up from there. So that's another way people can access the library without coming to the library. So what resources other than books do you find to be most used by patrons of your library?
I think kind of going back to that digital age question, I think the space and the Wi-Fi, having a place for your laptop to charge, air conditioning, a comfortable space, our heating during the winter, I know a lot of people who mentioned coming to the library to get peace and quiet away from wherever they are currently living or their living situation. I know that could be an issue for people. I know I've talked to plenty of um, library students who say they could not study or finish their homework at home. It was impossible for them. So the library acts as that space for community people, for where the community can come and they utilize the physical space in that sense. Yeah, I think I lost my train of thought there. Can you repeat it again?
What other things besides books are
Yeah.
people utilizing the most here?
Yeah, I would say yeah, definitely space. And then we do offer we're starting to grow our library of things. So for example, we have ukuleles right now. We have telescopes that people can check out. We're currently we were just awarded a grant. So now we're able to purchase some keyboards and guitars that we're going to have for patrons to check out. So a different type of product to check out other than books or stuff like that. And then programming to go along with it. So just to give people the opportunity to try things they may not otherwise have access to.
So is there any aspect of your job that you didn't expect to be such a regular request slash chore?
Yes. I think as a branch manager or supervisor, I did not foresee the amount of time it takes to just be, how do I say it? Just meeting with staff, evaluating programs, just making sure you're on the same page with them and making sure that they have everything they need from you, like to schedule one-on-one meetings with everybody, to do evaluations, our group meetings, all that like non-librarian stuff that probably happens at every other job if you're a supervisor. I just didn't really think about that aspect of it. And it's a huge part of it. And it does require skill and patience. It's not easy, but yeah, I definitely did not see that. I didn't think about that before taking on these roles.
I agree with that. I was not prepared for the amount of meetings that would happen once you move up the ladder. So, and basically there's days where we're in meetings all day. Like
Mhm.
Thursdays, it's basically you just have back-to-back meetings and nothing else gets done. So, so could you describe a recent project or initiative that you've been involved in at the library? What were the objectives, challenges, and outcomes of this project?
Um, so I feel like I haven't like started one, gone through it and finished yet here at least. I can go back to my previous position with Riverside as a branch manager. We had it was a very rough neighborhood with there's a lot of drug use, a lot of people with mental suffering from mental disabilities or however you want to describe it. Um, they had a big homelessness problem there as well. So a huge issue that we noticed is that people needed help with social work. So we did bring in with the local university social work students to intern and help with the library because library staff were acting as de facto um, social workers and we're not trained in that. We shouldn't be expected to do those type of services, but it was expected from the community. So we brought in the interns, and it was okay, but what we had to realize is that they're students, they're not professionals, they're not experts. So a lot of the patrons that would go in for help had a very high expectation, and a lot of them were asked, I think, expecting more, are trying and abuse the situation. So the outcome was supposed to be, we're connecting people to the services they need. But what we eventually realized is that the student and volunteer aspect of that wasn't going to work. We needed a professional on staff paid as an employee. So that way there's rules, there's expectations, there's trainings, and we're not at the mercy of a volunteer who can just say, hey, not coming today. And we just don't have somebody. So I think that was a good learning experience there. But yeah, another thing that was also apparent is that the library staff should not try to act as experts in any way for services that they're not trained in. And I think that's a big issue in public libraries is everyone comes from a good place and a good heart where they want to help people, and they're trying to act as in a way to help people with certain services that they're not properly trained in. And I think in the end, it does a disservice to both sides. So
The previous speaker that they watched was a social worker for the
oh,
library. So she kind of gave her background on that and how she is a full-time staff member and they have a part-time staff member. So,
which
you know,
library?
Azusa.
Oh,
Yeah. So they have full-time and part-time. So they're providing services like what, 60 hours a week. So,
wow.
and she
Okay.
sees like 25 people a week, she said. So
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
it's
Maybe
pretty
we can
intense over
refer
there.
people over to
Yeah,
Azusa.
we can to their program. So let's see. What are some of the most pressing issues facing libraries today, in your opinion? How do you envision addressing these challenges in your role as a library professional?
Well, I think just to piggyback off of what I was just saying, I think the biggest issue is librarians coming from a good place, wanting to do more, but they're going beyond their means. Libraries and librarians, we're supposed to connect people to information. We're not going to describe the information or interpret the information for them. We connect them to the resource or the info. And I think that's what we need to get back to. Like, for example, our Veterans Resource Center, we're not trying to help people with in any sort of way, like file for benefits or figure out what benefits they can get or what they need. We let the veteran service officer do that. Or for example, like you just mentioned, the Azusa Library with their social worker, they're not acting as social workers. They have the social worker there. So whatever community demographic you're trying to assist, you need someone professionally trained in that area, and libraries need to partner with them. That's the biggest thing is libraries need to reach out to their community and make a partnership to where both sides are beneficial. The library is getting something and the community partner is getting something from the library. And that way both sides are happy, and that relationship will continue and will grow together.
So that goes perfectly into the next question. Can you describe ways in which you have collaborated with local entities to provide services and programs that fill the diverse or direct needs of the community you serve?
Yeah, so I mean, I've already used the veterans resource with the VSO and the VPAN rep. Um, But I think another example that we also did is we reconnected with the local VFW, so the Veterans of Foreign Wars, kind of similar to like the American Legion. There's a local one down the street from the library, so we went over there. And we've had a relationship in the past. This is before I worked for this library, but we reopened that relationship. We introduced ourselves. We asked if we could speak at their meetings. We dropped off flyers. We let them know our intentions and our goals, and we ask them how we can help them. So currently we're figuring out a way to where we can do programming with them to help them bring in more members, because that was their issue. They say we need more members. And so I said, okay, that's what we're going to help you with. And then what we want from them is to tell their veterans, do you need help with something? Come to the library. We have a VSO. We also have a VPAN rep. So things like that is what we're working on with community partners. I forgot. I already forgot the question again.
But yeah, basically, how do you work with community partners
Yeah.
to,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that's a good example. So in your experience, what has been the most difficult project or service to implement? What were some of the challenges you overcame in relation to it in any of your roles?
Most difficult project to implement. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember that. Using Beanstack, the
Oh my
Beanstack
gosh.
app
Yes.
for summer reading logging. Oh, it was a nightmare. Um, yeah, training staff is one thing. Training the public, it's impossible. And there, from our library, what do you call it? I don't know, administration, it was told to us the public needs to use this. We need to show them what to do, and this is how we're going to do our record keeping for summer reading. But it just what it ended up happening is people would come to the front and they couldn't get their prizes until they logged their hours, but they didn't know how or refused to use the app. They wanted to do the paper version like they've always done, that they were comfortable with. So we would, in the end, it would just be staff filling it out for them at the desk. And it was a big waste of time. Um, yeah, I understand where the reasoning behind that from an administrative perspective. It's easy to collect data, analyze the data, and then use it for future uh, planning. However, from the staff and the public side, it wasn't efficient. People didn't like it, that was definitely the most. I deal with a lot of complaints about it. So
I feel like Beanstack was like the biggest mistake during COVID that libraries made
yeah,
because they pushed it on everybody to use
yeah,
Beanstack and it
it
was
felt it
not.
felt very forced upon us.
Yeah, it did. And
And
it
I
was
think the
free for a
right.
while. And it
And I
was
think the
just,
patrons also felt that too. Like,
mm,
no, we like the paper version of
mhm,
filling logging it out like that. Kids liked it. Kids
yeah,
like getting stamps or stickers or whatever. It helps you show your progress. A little 5-year-old is not going to go log into the app to check how far he's getting to get closer to his prizes.
yeah,
They want the paper. And I understand that. I feel like if that's what they want, that's what they should get. So
yeah. Beanstack was such a mess. Here at this library, we just use Google Docs because we're simpletons and it's the easiest way to do our summer reading login, and people love it. So, um, how have you seen library jobs evolve, and how do you see them evolving in the future?
um yeah, I think in the physical space, like I mentioned earlier, I think they're going to evolve to um, student and office space, small business spaces for people to do their social media tasks or whatever. Maybe it's like recording something, borrowing a laptop, borrowing possibly microphones. I know a lot of libraries are going to the library of things route, so maybe lighting, because I know social media, as you need proper lighting, maybe you need a green screen, whatever it is. I think libraries are going to move into that role in the physical space. In terms of programming, I would say that a lot of more partnerships are going to come up with libraries. That's what I foresee happening, because I think a lot of other people in the field are realizing the librarian isn't some superhero that's going to fix all the problems. As much as they would like to say that that's what they're doing, we need to connect people to the experts. We're not going to be the experts. So creating partnerships is what I see the most important thing that libraries can do. And I think that's a great skill to develop and practice with, is learning how to go out, introduce yourself to people, convey your message, and then establishing a mutual relationship.
And then one more question that wasn't on there, but as a full-time, when you were a full-time paraprofessional working in circulation, how do you think that differs from being considered a full-time professional in terms of what you did in supervisory role?
I would say when you're the paraprofessional, your work is a lot more narrowly focused. You get like a specific project, um, and then you work on it, and it's kind of like your little baby, and you get to like nurture it and it's very fulfilling. Maybe you get one program or two, like whatever, like you're doing a story time or someone's doing the Dungeons and Dragons program, whatever. You get to really focus on it and like research it and make ideas for that. When you're in like a manager or supervisor role, you don't get to do that anymore. Um, you're overseeing everything from the top. Um, you don't get to like really stick your hands in anything like you used to, and because I know it's a lot of fun for a lot of people. So yeah, you're kind of also just putting out small fires everywhere basically. You take problems on as they come. There's no training that can prepare you for that. You have to be what's the word, adaptable, and being able to kind of think on your feet and think from a perspective on what's the best way to handle the situation for everyone in the library, the patron side of things. And it's not easy, but you get better with time. So I think that's the one thing that even library school cannot prepare you for. But at the same time, that's every job. That's not just the library field. So
Yeah. And then can you talk a little bit about driving the bookmobile or what you did on the bookmobile?
oh yeah. I mean, just driving it around, that was, yeah. So we would, um, we at Azusa, I would catalog our own library books. So that was fun. I get to make sure like they were looked a certain way and they were shelved a certain way. And then we would go to the different schools and check out books. You get to meet all the kids, and that was a lot of fun. Getting it stuck in the mud at certain
That's right.
city events. So yeah, and then at Anaheim, I was driving the bookmobile there, a little bit different, bigger bookmobile, going to actual like neighborhoods and not just schools. So that was interesting, and doing actual programming at the bookmobile. So I did that there as well. That was actually my first time I did programming, I think. So
Oh,
that was a little yeah, Anaheim. So that was a little intimidating for me, but it was a good experience because once I did it, it makes you realize like, okay, I can do it.
all right. Well, is there anything else any words of wisdom you'd like to tell these students as
Ooh,
they're
words of
embarking on their library
um,
certificate journey?
I would say like I mentioned, every library is different. I would say do your research when you're applying for libraries. Know what kind of community it is, know what expectations they are. You can ask in the interview what's expected of you, what the goals are, because every library is going to be different. So you shouldn't go into it with your expectation of what you want to do. I know that's very common when people leave college, they want to do what they want to do, and that's not how it works. You're part of a team, you're part of a community. If you're in a city library, you're working with the city. The city has a mission, the library will have its mission. You'll have community interests, people that help fund the library, fund your programmings. You need to listen to them. You need to hear their voices. So I know if you start like at the aide level or paraprofessional level, that's not really going to be in your daily tasks or anything. But it's good to understand, because that's where the supervisor and management staff are going to be. That's where their lens is. So I think that's good to understand. But I would also say the library is just really fun to work at, compared to what people have told me about other professions and things like that. There's a lot of leeway, like there's a lot of creativity room for things, like in terms of what type of programming you're going to offer, or if you're a librarian, what type of materials you're going to purchase, stuff like that. I think there's a lot of freedom in that aspect, and I really enjoy that part.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking time, Kurt, to talk to us today. And
Oh, one other thing I
yes.
also mentioned. Yeah, at least if you're working for cities, they have great benefits. So from the retirement aspect,
Yes.
it's really, really nice. So yeah,
Yeah, that's
think
something
about
to
that
think
too. You
about.
got to think about your future.
Yes, I know you guys a lot of them are very, very young, but you have to think about what's going to happen in 40 years. So,
It'll go by fast.
yes, it will. So, all right, Kurt, thanks so much for talking to us today. Have a good day.
No,
Okay,
you too.
bye.
Bye.